Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CISO Corner. I'm Dane Dittamore with DataBank, and our subject matter expert today is DataBank's very own Chief Information Security Officer, Mark Houpt. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Dane. How you doing?
I am fantastic. Well,
Great.
today's topic is the impact of AI and machine learning on your data security. But before we dive into my questions, Mark, can you briefly help our listeners understand the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning?
Absolutely. So this is a hotly debated topic because a lot of people call machine learning artificial intelligence. But the reality is that most of the things that we call AI are machine learning. Machine learning type of situations are when a machine has a particular script, a computer has a particular script, a piece of software that's in it that will identify different characteristics that are going on. So back in the day, maybe 15 or 20 years or even a little bit longer ago, we called that heuristics in the antivirus world, where as email was coming in, it might see a particular volume or a particular type, a particular keyword, for example, and it starts to collect data about that. And then through inputs of the operators or its own logic within it, starts responding to that in order to stop an attack or stop or do something related to that. Now, artificial intelligence, on the other hand, is almost completely hands off when it comes to the individual input. So if you think about artificial intelligence, you can kind of think of Tony Stark in some of the Iron Man movies, where he would wear in the initial stages, he would wear some sort of a helmet or some sort of bodysuit that would allow the machine to learn what his movements are, record the EEG type of brainwave type of situations that it picks up on, and then it stores that and then will repeat that and eventually start learning from its own mistakes as well. So those are the two different types of situations. Machine learning is much more common, even though a lot of people call it artificial intelligence.
Great, great. Well, thank you. That's very helpful as a starter. My questions really are going to be cover both sides of the issue: how AI is used with ill intent by nefarious actors, and also used with good intent by data security professionals like
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So let's start with the bad side of the equation. How has AI been used to compromise data security?
Well, so first of all, AI is very expensive. So when AI is used to compromise data security, you're usually talking about a very advanced threat actor, what we would call advanced persistent threats, what other scenarios may call nation state attackers, or those types of attackers with deep pockets. So that's one thing to consider whenever you're dealing with actual artificial intelligence types of attacks that are going on. These types of attacks, how are they being used to compromise data? Right now, typically they're being used with what's called botnets or robot nets. And most frequently, those are used in DDoS type of attacks or distributed denial of service types of scenarios, where a whole bunch of robot computers that have been taken over by the attacker, are issued a command by a centralized authority, and those botnets are then launching their attacks based upon either time, situation, circumstance, keywords, a whole host and series of things that are out there. Now, the average person could technically go and rent a botnet, which is kind of scary in itself. But typically those DDoS types of attacks are what's going on when we see some sort of AI or botnet type of scenario. Now, you can get really deep. We could probably have an entire podcast that would go 30 or 60 minutes on some of the advanced persistent threats, some of the nation state type of attacks that are going on that are using AI, but those typically involve large scale computing systems, large deep pockets resources, things like that. So when we see that type of thing, then we really have to start to get nervous about who is really attacking us.
Understood, understood. So how does this differ from what you would call maybe a more traditional way of compromising data
Hmm.
security?
Yeah, so there's a couple different views of being compromised with data security. You've got your script kiddies, which are people who don't necessarily know a lot. They're probably playing around, or they do it as a hobby, if you will. Script kiddies are kind of hobbyists in the attacker level when they're doing compromise. And quite honestly, most of the attacks that occur are probably related to script kiddie, or that hobbyist type of scenario. Somebody's sitting in their basement. We saw this a lot during the early stages of COVID. They didn't have anything better to do. They've either been laid off, they've been in college or university or high school type of scenario, and they're all working their school from home, and it's not taking as long to do, and so they have nothing better to do, so they start attacking systems. And typically these types of attacks are the types that take advantage of what we call low-hanging fruit. So lack of patching, lack of a hardened system, so on and so forth. And then as you move up the scale, you're taking advantage of types of systems with more protection on them, and you're also finding, as you move up the scale, beyond the script kiddie into more AI type of attacking, where the attack is directed. So it's directed at a company and has a mission or a purpose. There's a specific reason that they're trying to do that. They're trying to steal data. They're trying to compromise the system in order to get intellectual property. They're trying to perhaps steal personal data in order to follow people around. An example of this was with the U.S. federal government a couple of years ago. We had an attack where a nation state stole all of the background investigations for people who had applied for clearances. Then that same nation later compromised Marriott hotels, and I believe it was Marriott, and a couple of other types of situations, in order to find out the lifestyle and the travel schedules and stuff of certain types of people, who they then used that to focus in on specific companies and organizations where these folks were traveling to or whatnot, so that they can get intellectual property off of that. So that's the kind of thing you're looking at. Your traditional is, people that are playing around, or maybe hobbyists, and slightly above that, moving all the way up into that very directed, very specific type of intelligence collection and attacking type of scenario.
Yeah, yeah. So do you see AI-based attacks coming? And if so, what do they look like?
Yeah, I think I can answer this very simply and say the answer is yes. Without question, I see AI-based attacks coming, and probably going back to what I said earlier, those such scenarios with deep pockets, nation state, advanced persistent threat, um, organized crime type of scenarios would be those that would use AI. And as I said just a moment ago, they're going to be very specific and directed in what they're trying to attack. Even some of the ransomware scenarios that have been somewhat machine learning and AI based and cross between the two that we've seen over the past couple of years, those have been from deep pocket type of scenarios, in particular organized crime scenarios. And so, yes, you are going to see them. You're going to see them more directed. You're going to see them more specific in what they're after and what they're looking for.
Yeah, yeah, understood. Now, okay, now for the good side of the equation, right?
Yeah,
Has AI been used to strengthen an organization's security profile or posture?
absolutely. So this is interesting, is that typically the security organizations and security software is actually responding or reacting to a type of attack. In this particular case with AI, it's actually the reverse. The security companies have been developing AI and machine learning scenarios for years, whereas the attackers are just now being able, because of the deep pocket type of scenario, are just now being able to develop and utilize AI type of scenarios in the attack process. So it's kind of interesting that it's a reverse scenario, but AI has been and continues to be. I just sat on um, a vendor call yesterday where they were describing their AI to us, and I questioned them whether it was really machine learning or AI, and they went deep on it. And sure enough, it actually was AI, where the software itself is learning and making decisions. And I think that's probably one of the keys to the difference between machine learning and AI, is that the AI was actually making decisions, security-based decisions on its own, from having learned previous activity.
Wow. Well, that obviously creates opportunities and challenges in and of itself, right?
Right. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah. So does an enterprise, Fortune 500, 1000 sort of a company, does an
Mhm.
enterprise need any special expertise on staff or
Mhm.
resources to use this technology?
Great question. The answer is both yes and no. So let me answer that really quickly. If they don't necessarily need somebody who knows AI on on their staff in order to operate the AI-based software. But what they are going to need is someone who understands software and understands how AI systems work in order to manage the behind the scenes piece of it. So it's kind of you don't need an AI expert, but you need somebody who understands AI to operate the software that is going to be used. And typically, the people that are coding or building AI type software would not be in an enterprise environment. So you're not going to have a dev team within Fortune 50 or Fortune 500 company X that is developing security specific AI software. Again, deep pocket type scenario. You've got very specific, very specified type of companies that are doing this type of development. Typically, they're developing for government, for intelligence businesses, for law enforcement entities, and they're reusing that development after they've sold those products to those types of entities to use towards the enterprise. So we're kind of getting the roll down R&D effect that the government and the law enforcement entities are asking for.
Wow. Well, that's very helpful. And thank you, Mark. As
Mhm.
always, you're the go-to guy for anything related to data security. We're glad you're on our side.
Thank you.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening, would like to be notified when the next CISO Corner podcast is released, you can click on the link below this video and sign up. And obviously you can sign up or subscribe to our YouTube channel. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.